Hey everybody, Chris Nguyen here, and I want to talk today about nepotism in the animation industry, how it might affect you, and how you can use what I say uh, about that subject to help you in your career. But first, let's define our terms. Nepotism, in its most basic sense, is when someone who has power over hiring hires friends and families. That's the most basic definition. Now, me and probably everyone has the usual knee-jerk version of it, which is hiring unqualified people who shouldn't be in that position to be to do a job by someone in power. And uh, but for the most part, the nepotism that you might uh, be affected by in the animation industry is not that. It absolutely does happen, but the hiring of friends is because you know that they can do a job. That really is it. When you're coming into a project, you need to get people on board to help do the different jobs, storyboards, designs, whatever. You need to know that the person can do the job. So you're going to go with someone you trust. The other aspect is someone you like working with. They may not be your friends outside of work, but you know you like working with them. You get along, they get along with other people. So that's why you're bringing them in, because they can do the job and they get along with people. How can you break through that? There's really only the fact that some of those people might not be available as you come into a project that will make an opening for someone who isn't in that circle already. You may not like that, but that's the reality. And that's with these videos that I've been doing, that's really what I want to do, is not talk about what should or shouldn't be, talk about what is and how you can navigate that. As I discussed on my channel previously, at the beginning of DreamWorks Animation Television in 2013, we had to deliver 900 half hours, and we had smaller budgets and shorter schedules than we had doing CG animation at Nickelodeon. We had to hire people who knew the job from day one. We couldn't afford to take a chance on people who were unproven to us. They could have been completely fine people on other projects. We had to have people come in day one, able to do the job we know that we needed them to do. As budgets get smaller, that's going to be an even bigger issue. The best way I think that people can get around that is trying to find non-union gigs at small places, work with people, and you work with people, they get jobs elsewhere, they recommend you, and that's how you get it. Like the beginning of my career in LA was like that. I came up, I worked on game cinematics, and people who I worked with went to other jobs and said, you need Chris on this project. That's a way to get in. And then as you climb up, I mean, not everyone can start out working at DreamWorks or Nickelodeon or Disney. There's a lot of other work out there. Not right now so much, but in typical times there is. So why would a studio not bring in unproven talent? Even outside of the bringing in friends, you might not bring in someone who's new. Part of the reason is union minimums or minimum wage create a floor for what you can pay a person. And correspondingly, that makes a floor on the skill level that you can bring in. Meaning, if I have to pay more for a particular job, then I need to bring in someone who is going to be worth that pay to me. So if someone can only make $1,000 a week worth of productivity, but I have to pay them $1,500, I'm probably not going to hire that person. Or at least I'm not going to take a chance on them. I will hire someone who has more experience and all that stuff. That's typical for any industry. Another way to look at it is those minimums, whether it's because of a union or a minimum wage, are taking away the lower rungs of the ladder. They have to find other ways of getting that experience. We got around bringing in new talent at Nickelodeon way back in 2007 because the CG department was not part of the animation guild at the time. So we created this apprentice program. It didn't pay a lot, but it gave people the chance to take a reel that was good but not great and give them work and give them a chance to prove themselves doing actual production work with people mentoring them to take them from potential to good. And we had a year cap on it. So you either had to rise to the level that you could be hired or the job would end for you. It was a way to make it so people couldn't just stay endlessly in this low paying job. One thing with the union minimums, and just like minimum wage in real life, not a lot of people stay there. In fact, most of the people that we hire, in all of my experience in animation, were making more than union minimums. In fact, very few people, when Nickelodeon CG department went union, I don't believe a lot of people got pay raises because they were already making more than the minimum. So that's a factor in it too. The other avenue to get your foot in the door when you're newer talent is to come up through production, meaning you go get a job as a PA. If you're a storyboard artist, hopefully you can get a job as a PA, working with a production coordinator whose job it is to oversee storyboards. So you get a chance to see what the job entails, the job of a storyboard artist. The same thing with other writing, like a lot of writers come up as PAs and then the production coordinator who's in charge of writing. And they learn the trade, they get a chance to freelance a script. Same thing with board artists, they might get a chance to freelance. That is the typical way in, especially if you don't have a reel yet that's really solid. A lot of the people who applied to our apprentice program back at Nickelodeon who didn't have a reel that was good enough for us to even take that chance on them, they came into production. And some of those people moved on from production to later join the apprentice program because they were able to work around people who knew their job and they could learn from them, apply it in their own time, and then reapply to the apprentice program. So that's a way in. Some of the studios now, the production people are covered by the union. I don't know any details about that yet, which studios are affected, what the pay rates is, whether it's more than what a current production person would have been making. So I don't know if that changes anything, but it could have that same effect of creating a floor of pay that will make a corresponding floor in skill level. So what do you do? As I said, I think working at whatever job you can find, whether it's for a YouTube channel, a little mom and pop CG shop that's doing things, all of my jobs were that at the beginning of my career, working, doing game cinematics, things like that. And I got along with people. I had people that I worked with who really enjoyed hanging out with me, and they appreciated my skill level. So when they went to other places, they brought me in, as I said. So the key, I think, in that, the key thing to think about for your career is when you go to a place, when you're new, the most important things are be awesome to work with and get your job done. And those are the key ingredients. You get your job done, you get it well, and you're awesome to work with. People will bring you on to future projects. Right now, with the job market the way it is, if a new project is starting up, there are so many people out of work with long histories. It's going to be very challenging for someone who's new. But with the productions, with the budgets being so much smaller, you may get a chance because you're willing to take less money than someone who's seasoned. And that could be your chance to get in. I've worked on projects where they budgeted for storyboard artists, and the rate that they budgeted for would not cover what people wanted to make. And therefore, we had to take artists who were less seasoned, because everyone with years of experience, they were all taking jobs that were paying higher rates. And that was a chance for newer people to come in. And that's going to be happening a lot because the budgets are going to get smaller, except outside of probably prestige projects. By that, I mean things like the studio's putting all their money into this big project that has a big name attached to it and all that kind of stuff. And then the rest of the projects may be smaller, with large portions of the production being sent to Canada or elsewhere. And when that happens, you may have budgets that are small enough that they can't bring in top level talent for storyboard artists, whatever positions. And newer talent may be able to get in, but that's probably much more likely on independent studios, not at Nickelodeon, DreamWorks, and places like that. So anyway, as always, good luck on your job search. Keep this stuff in mind. Remember, be awesome to work with, get your job done, do it well, and don't be a thorn in people's sides. People will remember you. So when they go to other jobs and their bosses are coming to them saying, hey, do you know any people? They're going to tell their boss about the people who were awesome to work with and got the job done. Anyway, good luck on your job search.